chatter now was to see if we could defeat the Aussies 5-0. But unfortunately, that plan didn't go exactly how we would have wanted it, because in the fourth T20, Australia were able to pull off a victory. They again batted first, and they were able to pull off a victory by 4 runs. They elected to bat. They didn't get off to a great start, losing Wade pretty early. But the partnership that came after really set the platform for a great total for Australia. A partnership between Aaron Finch and the aforementioned Mitchell Marsh, with Finch getting to 53 and Marsh getting to 75. I thought the West Indies did well to pull it back in the end again, because I thought that Australia were well set. So they got to 189. What do you think about the innings there from the Aussies and the West Indies bowling?
I thought it was a good innings from Australia. I thought they would probably think they were about 15-20 short.
Yeah.
But well, given the partnership that they had, they would probably not be, ecstatic coming off with less than 190, even though it was only by 1 run. But yeah, they'll probably think that they were about 15-20 short in that game. And it was still a solid batting performance by them. Kudos to the aforementioned Finch and Marsh again. He really did have a brilliant series. But what seemed to be the Achilles heel for the Aussies this series is that they just kept losing wickets in clusters. And
oh, for sure.
That happened again in this game. So Dan Christian got a decent 22 at the end. But you just kind of in the middle, it just kind of all goes pear-shaped for the Aussies, and that had been the trend for this series. As it relates to the bowling of the West Indies, Cottrell did his thing again. He wasn't bad. He was okay. Thereabout in the game. He had a new opening partner in O'Shane Thomas, and I guess the Aussies just took a liking to him.
He certainly looked sure of cricket.
Yeah, he did. Again, O'Shane, I guess you'd say one for the future, but I feel at 24 is when guys that are fast, like as he is, he doesn't show himself to be any great mover of the ball in terms of swing, and what's not. But I think this is the age that guys that you rely on raw pace. This is when they be clicking.
Right.
Around about age 24, and I mean, it was unfortunate for O'Shane. He'd been out of cricket for a while. By out, I mean he hadn't played, not necessarily that he was injured. I think his last game before this would have been the Super 50 regional Super 50.
Way back when?
Yeah, exactly. And it showed, included in those 31 runs that he conceded in just 2 overs were 2 no balls as well. There's been a lot of talk about his run up and him struggling with it and working on it. And I guess O'Shane is really a work in progress still.
Yeah.
If this is the direction that West Indies are going to go, then you have to give him time. Much like with Hayden. If the direction they were going to go is hanging in and working with Hayden, I mean, this series he's proven his worth and repaid them for the faith of sticking with him. And I think they also have to give O'Shane the time to become that enforcer, because I think that's what they're looking to him to become in this T20 attack. bowl those four
Yeah.
overs with pace and rough up the opposition, so to speak.
It's pretty much a role that they've identified for him and Fidel Edwards.
Yeah, yeah.
I do agree with you. I think that we do have to give him some time to develop. I know you mentioned 24 is about where fast bowlers would usually, really come to the party. But I do think also the lack of experience which he may have relative to other cricket playing nations must also be counted in as well. And, I think O'Shane definitely is one that has, workable tools. And the more international cricket he is exposed to, insofar as playing, but also working with the international cricketers, it may very well be beneficial to him in the future. So I would definitely, I agree with you, I wouldn't discard him, but I would really love him to gain through the experience and learn and come good.
Yeah, man, indeed. There was no Bravo, for this game, no Obed McCoy, and I think two of those players were vital to our success with the ball.
Yeah, they were missed for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We saw Akil Hossein, who also probably looked a bit short of work, to be honest. And it just shows that in this game, there really is no hiding. There's no room for error, as he was taken for 24 in his two, along with O'Shane, who went for 31 in his two. But outside of the two of those, again, you go straight to Hayden and say, well bowled, well done, picking up 3 wickets, and getting crucial wickets as well. You got Finch. You got Finch to break that partnership between Finch and Marsh. And the very next delivery, you got Alex Carey, which started that slide for the Aussies. And then he came back to get Ashton Turner stump later in the innings. But again, kudos to Hayden, bowled well. Fabian Allen again did a good job. Saw over for Lendl Simmons. Not sure why.
It's strange to look at a bowling sheet and see Lendl Simmons contributing over.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. Maybe the captain felt something at that moment and went with him.
Yeah.
But it was a decent all-round performance by the West Indies, especially after the Aussies got a partnership up front. And then, of course, again, West Indies had to chase it down. And what were your thoughts on the chase from West Indies?
Well, I really was looking forward to a close game, given the start that we had. And it did boil down to be a close game. The start that we did have between Lendl Simmons and Evan Lewis was absolutely fantastic. I was a little surprised to see Riley Meredith given the opportunity to bowl the new ball with Mitchell Stark. And he came in for some blows, as we were saying in Beijing vernacular. Lendl Simmons refused to let him settle. Lewis has been in particularly good touch throughout the entire season so far. So they took heavy toll on the opening bowlers. Stark, he came in for, some blows as well. So particularly good by him to get us started. Unfortunately, we were unable really to carry on the impetus, because after losing the first wicket, Gayle went for 1, then Fletcher. He seemed out of depth at the number 4 position in this particular role, contributing 6 from 14 deliveries. As I said, it's not a role that is known to him, well, as of late, for the West Indies team. So I guess he was, trying his best, but unable to turn over the strike, and eventually lost his wicket in a reckless manner. Puran, small contribution of 16. And then it was up to Russell and Fabian Allen at the end to probably snatch a victory from the jaws of defeat. What was your take on the performance of those two particular big hitters, and also the major talking point at the end of this particular game, with the West Indies requiring 12 to win from the last over, and we had Andrea Russell and Hayden Walsh at the crease.
Yeah, as it relates to the two big hitters, it is what they do. Fabian Allen has almost become a clone of Russell in the back end. I don't know if, much like Rothman Powell, he's tried to pattern his game on Russell, especially in the back end. Not sure, but it is what they do.
Yeah.
That's the upside to having all of these power hitters for the West Indies. You get yourself in a situation like that, and they can hit you out of it, literally. So I thought it was good. It was good execution. Again, 24 of 13 for Russell and 29 of 14 for Fabian Allen. Again, it just is what they do. They come in and they beat ball. They finish games. They close it out for you. And they got West Indies very close, but no cigar here on this occasion.
I haven't heard that terminology in a minute.
Yeah, man. As it relates to that last over, I guess there are two sets of people in the world as it relates to this last over.
Absolutely.
There's the Russell absolutely did the right thing, taking all 6. And you'd back him based on recent form to have scored 11. And there's the should have taken the single off the first ball debate. Honestly, I probably fall into the latter. I don't know, man. I probably fall into the latter part of that debate. Take the single off ball 1. If it didn't go for a boundary, which it didn't.
Yes.
Having not taken the single off ball 1, he did the right thing.
He had to commit.
Right. The only thing left there was to face the rest. Because he couldn't then risk not taking it ball 1. You couldn't then risk Hayden getting on strike and not being able to get off it or get Stark away. So I think for me, I would have liked to see him taking the single. Not necessarily because I have the utmost confidence in Hayden's batting, but in this situation, I think it was a perfect opportunity to see how this plays out. Give Hayden that option at the end. At least then you know where you stand going forward. Of course, to say A, say B, Stark was bowling exceptionally well.
Pace as well.
At pace, yes, at pace. Stark was bowling exceptionally well there at pace. And Russell, after that is a game of what ifs, if Russell hits if Russell gets the 11 of that last over, we're all saying absolutely did the right thing.
Yep.
Was the man in, had his eye in, and was the man to try to take on Stark. If he didn't get the 11 as it is, then we have these what if scenarios and discussions.
Yes.
And it was interesting. I can't go against the decision made by Russell. Much like it reminded me a little bit of the Sri Lanka series where Fabian Allen and Jason Holder were at the crease, and Hasaranga was bowling. He had an over to go, and
it's true. Yes.
And Allen and Jason, much to their credit, realized that the hope of winning the game at that point was with Fabian Allen. And they also realized that Allen had no clue at that point in time against Hasaranga.
Absolutely.
So what he did was Jason took command of the Hasaranga over and then left it to Fabian Allen. And I don't mind seeing things like that where there's a clear plan and a clear thought process. So
It's true.
you know, even though I am on the side of, you know, Russell taking that single first ball, I cannot blame him and say, well, you know, it was a stupid decision or a bad choice or, you know, it was selfish cricket or anything. It's far from, you know, I see fully how how on form Russell would have been the man to take start, because I think it was Corbin that also stated when we were talking about it, Stark is that type of bowler that you give him a sniff and he will take it.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
you know, you take that single there, bum bum bum.
3 wickets gone.
Was saying Cottrell.
Yeah.
And Russell standing up at the other end,
Vex.
the whole Caribbean saying, why you take that single off your first ball? You have to face them.
You know, so, if you do, you're damned. If you don't, you're damned.
You know, it's kind of a lose-lose situation there. But it was just unfortunate that it didn't get over the line. Superb execution from Mitchell Stark to Andre Russell in that last over, and it needed to be spot on.
Definitely.
The only criticism, and I use that loosely, that I would have had of Russell there, is that he tried to do the very same thing with every ball.
Yeah.
Because at one point in time there, fine leg was up.
Yep.
And with fine leg up in the circle, the line that Stark was bowling was a very dangerous line, especially at 140 clicks.
It's true. He could have tickled one of those.
Exactly. Exactly. Instead of going outside leg, step inside and get a little back on it. And you know, it may have sped past the short fine leg.
Well, you know, as you mentioned there, as you said, you use the term loosely, because we all have the ability to utilize hindsight. And
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think Russell will grow from that, and the team think tank. I mean, they backed Russell in his decision vocally.
Yeah, and you have to, you have to.
Yeah, and I think, you know, at the end of the day, they will work with him and other players to find different ways to execute in the future. I definitely don't have a problem with Russell making the decision that he made, because as you said, if he didn't get the single off of the first delivery, then he had to commit to the plan and try to finish it off with boundaries. You know, you win some, you lose some. Yeah. And my important thing here is that we grow from it and we take it as vital experience into the future.
Indeed.
The Australians bowled pretty well, highlighted, in my opinion, by Jason Barendorf. I thought he had a phenomenal game with his bowling. I mean, the statistics don't show he bowled 3 overs, 24 runs, but I thought that he really did well to hem in the runway at one point with his mixture of slower balls from his left-hand angle as well. Adam Zampa had a phenomenal game, picking up his first 2 wickets of the series. Can you imagine that? In the 4th game, he bowled 4 overs, 2 for 20. And again, that man, Mitchell Marsh, he had his full complement of 4 overs. This time around, 4 overs, 3 for 24. I think there's one thing that that we also, some persons may have missed early in this game, but I'm pretty sure that Lendl Simmons as well refused a single earlier when he was in command, and Adam Zampa was the guy bowling at the time. Yeah. And I don't remember who it was that was batting with him. I think it may have been Puran. And Simmons decided to take the initiative against Zampa, maybe because of the large versus smaller side of the field. I don't know if that came into play. But Simmons was certainly, fluent up until that point, because even he could not get the measure of Zampa at that point. So, at the end of the day, you make decisions on the field and you have to back yourself and be confident that they will work. And sometimes they will and sometimes they won't.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about we can always debate and argue the execution. But the thing about decisions like that is that what I like about them is that you can see the plan, you can see the thought process behind it. It's not just, willy-nilly kind of thing. And as you say, it's cricket. Stark is allowed to bowl a get over, Zampa is allowed to bowl a get over. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you favor the matchup, that you don't take it on. So all in all, good game is nothing it's nothing against the West Indies here too much. Would have liked to see them close it out, of course, but I call it an executive decision made by Russell, and it just didn't pay off this time, and that's all it was. But you can see, it's happened before, much like Carlos Brathwaite in the World Cup. After scoring a brilliant 100, decided to take it on, and I don't blame him. I think he had to do it. And had that ball gone over the boundary, Carlos may still be in West Indies ODI side today. It's a game of fine margins. Who knows?
Some would argue that he still should be, but I think that's a different discussion.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, dropped after 100. Oh well.
Madness.
Anyway,